terms. You turn 19, you've had your fun. So much is what that looks like me or the her I'm now meant to be. Bye. Everyone's got one. I'm so excited. I'm gonna look so dumb, and I could learn to walk and talk like you. Or I could learn to try something brand new.
I certainly didn't find a cure to malaria, but I think I found a cure to a bad attitude. So I'm going to share a little bit about that now. Why'd you arrive so early in the morning? If something could have gone wrong, arriving in the dark. I believe we share the same strains of passion. They run like ribbons through your heart, tied us up from the start. The sun will rise, oh, to welcome you, my gray. Surprise! Welcome to the atmosphere. Oh, spread your wings and do not fear. I promise you will take it slow. I ain't ever gonna let you go. No, I ain't ever. Thank you so much. It's a huge pleasure for me to be back at Westerford. I've been here before. It's a great school. And I've been given this opportunity just to share a little idea with you guys. And it's not a unique idea by any means. Until I'd experienced it firsthand many times, it really was nothing but a cliche. And that's the idea of following your heart. But there's a saying which I love. It says, let yourself be drawn by the silent pull of what you love, for it will not lead you astray. For it will not lead you astray. I mean, it's not going to be easy at times, but it's not going to lead you astray. It's going to be something that you're going to enjoy. And life is fleeting. I mean, you speak to your parents, they'll tell you that they remember being in school like it was yesterday. So time is limited, and it's important what we do with that time. And if you ever let your head get in the way of making a good decision with your heart, just remember something. Success is not measured simply by the size of your bank balance. Okay, I know some very unsuccessful millionaires. So it's so much more to life than just simply that. But where does it start? Well, it starts with inspiration. Inspiration gets us energized. It creates that fire inside us. It gives us that desire to push through everyone's doubt and everyone's questioning and everyone's lies, essentially. And my inspiration came it was just before my 5th birthday, and I saw my mother performing on stage on the south coast in Natal, which is where I'm from, just a small town. But she was pretty revered in the community, and I remember going there and watching her sing and just being absolutely blown away, spellbound by it. And I just knew that night that I wanted to be like her, and the stage was my home. Whether it was going to be singing or acting or giving a talk or whatever the case might be, I knew I wanted to be on the stage. And that dream started to flourish, and I started to water it by thinking about it and by imagining the possibilities. And it led to when I was 16 and I got my first guitar. I was finally ready. And as you might have noticed, I'm a lefty. So I took an old right-handed guitar and I restrung it the other way around. And I went to my first guitar lesson, and the lady looked at me and she said, "You string that thing right, and I will teach you how to play it properly." So I fired her, and I'm so glad that I did, because teaching myself how to play meant that there was no limitations. I was free to just do it how it came naturally and how it felt right. And that just kept me so entertained. And in boarding school, there were so many afternoons where I was bored, and music just gave me such a release, such an expression. That led to me leaving school and deciding, okay, I think I want to study music. So my folks and I went up to Johannesburg because that's where we thought it was all at. And I couldn't find an educational system, whatever, that suited me. Someone that was teaching music that I felt a vibe from, and I didn't get anything from anywhere. And I was so confused because I really thought that I was pursuing my passion. I thought I was doing the right thing. And in the last moment before we left, my father said, well, you were good at acting as well, and you enjoyed it thoroughly. Why don't we go check out this place called AFTA? It was an afterthought completely, but we decided to follow that curiosity, and we got to this old bakery, like a derelict bakery in the middle of Dodgeville, big time. And it was totally not what I expected, but it was unbelievable. There was just lights everywhere and cameras and directors running around, these young actors, and I was just swept up in the vibe, and I knew it was the right place for me to go. And that's, I suppose, an important note to remember, is that often it is not what you expect. But that's okay, because your heart knows better than you could ever know, so sometimes you just got to go with it. And I'm so glad that I did, because the most important thing that happened to me there was that I met my wife. And my wife, funnily enough, also ended up at AFTA just by chance. So it was definitely destiny. But the next 2 years also were fantastic. I did very well. I actually ended up top of my class, and I was performing in all these shows around the country and even overseas. And I was really loving it. I was very passionate. And I was 1 year away from getting my degree, and something hit me. I went to go watch my favorite band at the time called the Smashing Pumpkins, who were actually pretty rubbish on the night, to be fair. But James, who opened up for them, absolutely rocked me. And I just knew in that moment that I know everything seems cool, but music is where I need to be. Acting, you're being someone else. Music, this is mine. This is my thing. It's me expressing myself. And my best buddy, Chaz, who I started a band with at school, and we were pretty serious. We had done quite a lot of shows and stuff already. He was 2 years behind me, so he was leaving school at that time, and we just knew that it was now or it was never. So, I had to make that call to the folks, which is never easy. But luckily, my parents have, if you're hardworking and you're focused, they tend to trust you a lot more. So they gave me the freedom to make that decision. And for 2 or 3 years after that, I regretted that decision. I really thought I'd made a bad call. We struggled. No one was coming to our shows. We had lost several members for all different kinds of reasons, and I felt like I'd made a big mistake. And in a final-ditch effort, Chaz and I, again, we're like, you know what? We wanted to be in Cape Town for how many years now? We were in Joburg because everyone told us this is where it was at. But you and I have wanted to go to to Cape Town. So let's go to Cape Town. So we packed everything up, and 2 days later, we were in Cape Town. 3 days after that, we had our first show. Just the two of us playing our acoustic guitars and singing. And we sent out a word to the few people that we knew in the Cape, and we got to this gig, and to our surprise, 200 people showed up to see us, and they were singing our songs like they had been listening to them every day. And there was this whole movement happening in Cape Town that we had no idea about. We were busy struggling our butts off in Joburg. So again, that was just one of those moments where we knew, we followed our hearts, and all of a sudden the world just conspired, to help us. And we continued along for 2 years or 3 years after that, and it was just at the time of my life, myself and Chaz, my best pal, my brother, another one of our best friends as our manager. It was crazy. We were living in a house together. It was just a fat jaw, and we were going around the country. And we were playing, and people were showing up and filling the crowds, and we were on radio, and it was very exciting. And our second album we recorded with a Grammy-nominated producer, and all the big musicians like Dom Peters from Goldfish, and all these guys, and we thought, this is it. Big time, baby, big time. And sometimes you get a bit surprised, okay? And Chaz was... We went on tour to launch our second album, and we went to Maritzburg first because that's where we were at school, and we thought we'd start there. And after the concert, Chaz was knocked over by a drunk driver and killed. And I mean, that's, watching your friend die in front of you on a road in Maritzburg is not something I wish upon anyone. It's a traumatic experience to go through, but probably the most hectic part of it was the fact that we had, in my mind, we had built this whole life together. Chaz was a part of everything. My entire vision for my life and what we were going to do and what we were going to achieve involved him. So to have your whole foundation shake like that is unbelievable. But in that moment, I realized that, we have creative power. We are made in the likeness of God, and I think that is the likeness that they speak of. Is that if we put our minds to something, not only does the world tend to conspire to help you achieve it, but you also just bring it into reality, and it's what you focus on that becomes life. And it's not always going to be easy following your heart, that's for sure, but sometimes you can't let life dictate your circumstances. So you have to make a choice after a situation like that. Because bad things happen to good people too. It's unfortunate, but it happens. And I just decided to start really thinking about my dreams, reinvesting in them. And there's a saying which I absolutely love, which I use all the time. And it says, a good dog and a bad dog fight to the death. Which dog wins? Well, the answer is the dog you feed the most. A good thought and a bad thought fight to the death. Which thought wins? The thought you feed the most. Okay, so it's an obvious little truth, but it really is true. And so I just started to invest in my dreams again and started to have the best 3 years of my career after Chaz's death. We toured internationally. We had our first #1 hits on 5FM, and it was our best years. And it just was proof that no matter the circumstance or the situation, I mean, Nelson Mandela is a perfect example of it. I mean, he could have so easily in those 20-odd years turned into a bitter, twisted man, but he chose not to let his circumstance dictate him who he was. He was the captain of his soul. And we moved on and had a fantastic couple of years after that. And then I went overseas, and I wanted to go and do a master's degree, but I dropped out of my degree 5 years earlier, or however many years earlier, so I thought that this was an impossibility. And I just knew that I wanted to take a break from music and get over Chaz's passing. I'd been working, and I contacted these people, and they said to me, well, actually, we've done a bit of research on you, and we see that you've been a professional for a good while now, which means that you might be up to speed, which means that you could potentially fit in here and get by. We'd allow you in to do your master's 1 year. So I was like, okay, great. And I wrote this exam, and it all worked out. And next minute I knew it, my wife and I were over in the UK, and I was doing my master's degree. And this is a great saying for that, is my dad has taught me this from when I was just a little boy. He's always said to me, my boy, don't rush things. Don't rush life. It takes 10 years to get 10 years worth of experience. So you can't just expect to, roll up. Nowadays, in the modern day, guys just walk into a job and then, next week they want to be the CEO. But these things take time, and that time is what builds your character, and it's an important part of your life. It's the best part of your life. And so I was so lucky to have gotten this master's degree, because I came back, and now I'm this guy with a master's degree, and I never even got a degree in the first place. I've been doing music all this time. Before I'd gone to get the master's degree, I was the guy that the banks didn't want to loan any money to. I was dodgy. I was, credit-wise, nah, you don't go there. He's a musician. But now I tick the box just above doctorate. When you're going overseas or applying for something, master's. They're not going to ask you what the master's is. My master's is in songwriting, if you can believe it. But I got one, and that's what matters. And it's been such a brilliant journey from start to finish for me. And the best lesson that I've learned from it, really, is because in the beginning I thought it was just a cliche. Luckily, I had the guts to step out and take some chances by following my art passion for music and this sort of thing. But it's to let yourself be drawn by the silent pull of what you love, because it will not lead you astray. That's as simple as it gets. Allow yourself, in this short life that you have, allow yourself that one pleasure, and that's the pleasure of just enjoying this life that you've been given. So give a head start to your heart. That's my title. I'm Rory Eliot. Thank you very much for having me.